Bismillah. Welcome back, Zoo Crew. The video I did a few days back talking about like credit and stuff seems to be doing pretty good. And as much as like I'm telling myself, oh, maybe I should like dye my hair or like try and look my age, this seems to be working pretty good as a pattern interrupt because that video has a bunch of comments where people are like, oh, what the hell? Like, you're 33, you know? So I guess today's video is about playing to your advantages, right? So using whatever you have at your disposal and trying to make the best of a situation, you know? And yeah, I didn't realize that this would be a good way to get people to like stop on my videos. But then when I think about it, this is, I guess, one of the reasons why Ryan Serhant was able to blow up online, because this dude's hair is all completely gray and like he's a pretty young person and he just kind of plays into it, you know? Plus, being in like the entrepreneur world, looking older is generally better because then people take you more seriously, you know? And ever since I was like getting started down this path, I would do things to like make myself seem older, whether that was like having the Range Rover or like glasses and like dressing up in a suit and stuff, you know? Because when I was like 18 to 21, nobody would take me seriously when I would talk about real estate or any of these like finance/investment type things, you know? And so I would have to like make myself seem older. Plus, growing up, I've always been like the youngest person in the group. So majority of my friends were older than me. If I was at like a family function, I was generally talking with like uncles and like elders, you know? And I guess that's a thing that society has kind of lost because like it's the older generation, so like our grandparents' generations, that would carry a lot of wisdom because they've lived through so many different cycles and they've seen so much of the world change throughout their life, right? And like, unfortunately for me, I never met either of my grandfathers, right? And I'm sure I could have learned a lot from them, which is why I kind of enjoy talking with my grandmother's siblings whenever they're around or in town. And that's, I guess, the closest thing I would have to a grandfather. And if you think about it, in like ancient times, or not even that ancient times, like when you had like tribes and whatnot, people would sit around the fire and like the chief of the tribe or like the elder of the tribe would be sharing stories and life lessons to the youth or the younger generations, like the young adults and whatnot. And that was how they would educate people, right? Through stories and explaining kind of what they've gone through in their life, you know? So in a way, me documenting this whole series and making these videos is similar, right? And it's through storytelling that culture is created and culture is passed down. And I guess somewhere along the way, I kind of lost sight that I'm supposed to be cultivating my own craft of storytelling, whether that's through videos or writing, etc. Right? So, yeah, there's been a lot of changes in the last 80 some days. And really, I think this whole year is going to be quite transformative, especially given that it's just been 2 months and so much has already changed, you know, some good, some bad. And it puts life into perspective, you know, because especially, yeah, I'm not going to go into details about anything that's not concrete, but people are funny, people are interesting, and relationships are complicated, and life can be complicated, And I think it's our job to simplify things or try and keep things as simple as possible, which I know is easier said than done. But it comes down to intuition, trusting your gut, and being willing to pivot at times, be willing to admit to your mistakes. And I think the most dangerous thing is when you do something that you shouldn't be doing, but then you like take pride in it to make yourself feel kind of good about it, or that like you didn't make a mistake even though internally you know you did, right? And I think it comes down to our ability to hold shame or guilt and not let it define us, right? Because throughout life you will fall down, and like that's just a given, right? Life is going to knock you around, life is going to smack you around, and it's okay to fall down, but you have to be willing to get back up, right? You got to get back in the ring, you got to go for another round. And you really only fail in life when you stop trying. So regardless of whatever you're going through in life, if you feel like you've lost something or life is falling apart, it's very easy to get depressed and just feel like, oh, I'm such a failure, or I'm a loser, and like everything's falling apart. And it's in those moments where you have to really dig down inside, find your inner strength, and get back up again and be willing to face these challenges head on, you know? And that's why they call them battle scars, right? Because some people can have a scar and they feel like, oh, like I'm scarred, my like body is damaged, or I'm weak or whatever, right? When in reality, your scars are proof that you're still alive, proof that you overcame whatever tried to destroy you, right? Proof that you overcame obstacles and you didn't give up. And this applies to everything in life, whether that's your career, whether that's your love life, whether that's your content creation journey, like literally whatever you could think of, right? And I guess this is why anime resonates with me so much, because they follow the same hero's journey, right? You have this person who keeps facing obstacle after obstacle, and by all metrics they should give up, right? And they should just be content with living a mediocre existence. But there's something inside of them that pushes them to keep going, because they know that life only gets better when you keep pushing and you keep trying, right? Life doesn't get better when you give up. That's when life gets worse. That's when you spiral and then ultimately lose control, you know? And of course, I understand it's easier said than done. And like, if you can avoid going through hardships, by all means try and avoid them, right? But it's like when you have a boat, the boat is safest in the harbor, but a boat was not made to sit in the harbor. The boat was made to go out on the ocean and not get overturned by waves and sea storms, right? The boat is there. The real purpose is to go and explore, right? So you have to consider yourself in the same way as the boat, right? You can stay in your comfort zone. You can just stay docked at the harbor, but you're not really living up to your existence or purpose or potential, right? It's only when you brave the waters and you go out into the unknown that you truly start to live. So if there's one lesson in this video, the lesson is go out into the unknown, face your fears, right? And you can either, so there's like, they break it down like an acronym, I guess, or maybe I'm using the wrong word, but essentially fear can be feel everything and run, or face everything and rise, something like that. You know, I'm paraphrasing. I don't recall the exact quote, but back in the black card days, these are the kind of like mindset trainings we would put people through, right? Because the nuts and bolts of like real estate investing, it's pretty simple. Like anybody with half a brain can figure out how to be a real estate investor. The thing that holds people back is their mindset, right? So majority of what we would have to help people with was their mindset, which is why these seminars were so beneficial, because we could get people in the right environment, and for like 3 days in that environment, people are rewiring their brain. They're surrounded by like-minded individuals. Everyone kind of has the same like life direction, right? And then they're more likely to succeed. And then of course when they go back into their regular environment, now they have to kind of overcome that environment, or they're battling with the environment, which is why your environment is a very important thing, right? So you have to cultivate an environment that is conducive to your success. You have to set things up in a way that it's easy for you to succeed, right? You have to make sure, and like again, this ties into this whole notion of like having systems, right? Because you're not going to always have motivation, you're not going to always have discipline, but if you have the systems in place, that's going to carry you through, right? So the most successful people in life, it's not that they rely on motivation or discipline, they rely on their systems. So it's very important. And like, again, this is why your environment is so important, right? If you don't have an environment you can control, you won't be able to have systems that you can control, right? And I'm pretty tired. I've been like battling with some kind of a cold, I guess you could say, because I've been sneezing my brain out for the last freaking since Saturday, I guess you could say. So almost a week, to the point where like I'm going through like one tissue box in 2 days. So I'm gonna try and get some rest, and I'm gonna just be kind of recovering and resting for the next few days. And inshallah, I can stop sneezing, especially because Ramadan is coming up, you know? So yeah, all in all though, alhamdulillah, I'm glad that life is still moving forward. I'm grateful for some of these new developments in my life and some of these life changes that are going on, you know? And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.